In the kingdom of Rondon, the dungeon of fear and hunger awaits all those who would dare make themselves rivals of the royal family. In the year 1590, Legarde and the Midnight Sun's mercenary group find themselves imprisoned within, locked deep within the bowels of the beast. 4 people arrive at the dungeon of fear and hunger at around the same time, shortly after the place has descended into complete chaos. Now, how would I describe the dungeon itself?
Human sacrifice, dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria!
Yeah, like that, but more sexual. Okay, that's definitely getting warmer. So the Dungeon of Fear and Hunger was a literal dungeon at one point in the Kingdom of Rondon that plays host to the nation's enemies, including our boy Legarde. So you arrive to find the dungeon abandoned, and you beat the dead horse outside. Well, that's me done, time to head back, but oh no, the mist is too thick to safely traverse. There's only one way to go. You loot the nearby boxes, and that's when you hear the barking. Ooh, puppos. Oh Jesus, save me. Typically, most new players will encounter these abominations from hell, with more experienced players bravely running away. And you have a few options here. Fight and die, fight and win, but with missing arms, infections and constant blood flow, or fucking run for it. You may also be thinking, gee, most dogs or wolves in games are easy. Yes, they are. Not here, though. Every fight in Fear and Hunger is difficult in some respect. The initial area is designed to teach you what this game is. Challenging, unfair, and it requires you to be quick-witted and decisive. Outside of the dogs and the dead horse, the entrance to the dungeon is eerily calm. The great gate that's meant to stop intruders from entering is left wide open, perhaps inviting us in? So you can either enter the front gate before the dogs spawn, or go through this side door before they get to you. If you go through the main door, the dogs will follow you in, so you'll have to run away from them, leaving resources behind and risking falling prey to traps or guards that litter the dungeon. It can be done, but it's not ideal. Though even when you escape the jagged jaws, their sound design will haunt your dreams. Bro, chill. The dungeon possesses magical properties. Whenever somebody steps inside, they become overwhelmed by hunger and fear, forcing them to consume more food and drugs than they might typically. So more mouths to feed would, and apparently did, lead to some kind of horrific breakdown in the social fabric of the place. We enter the basement, where we're greeted with a sacrificial circle and a headless corpse inside of it. A symbol is drawn inside the circle. Further ahead you'll encounter a door. Strange whispers can be heard from the other side of it. Come find me, you. Ara ara, wouldn't you like to see somebody's insides? We can help. The fuck. A crow emblem key is needed to open it. What the hell is that? Given that you don't have that and punching the door really hard doesn't seem to work, you move through the dungeon until you encounter these bizarre smiling jellyfish creatures. The Maniba. They're tentacled creatures that seem to feed on dead bodies. We actually have no idea what these creatures really are, other than that they seem to feed on corpses and come from a strange void beyond time and space. A vision swirls in your head of ruins surrounded by a green hue. They want to feed on you as well, and apparently it's nothing personal. Yeah, I'm really feeling that. As we move through the basement, you notice that the amount of corpses we encounter initially does border on the absurd. But I suppose when you consider that a captured army had been housed here over the course of Legarde's campaign, well, it doesn't seem so over the top. But the way they've been disposed of, without honour or respect, piled up and left to rot in the bottom of some dark basement, doesn't really sit right, and it's completely unsettling. So you'll traverse the area, dodging the Maniba and the corpse piles, until you come across a graveyard. You can read the headstones. Here lies Yuho of the Northern Woods. Although he only briefly served in the dungeon, he is severely missed. 1562 to 1590. Here lies Sir Sonia. Her brute strength beat every man in an arm wrestling match. 1564 to 1590. Here lies Jonah. This one desperately sought death. Well, hope she's glad now that she's found it. 1564 to 1590. Here lies Sir Jacob, the great storyteller who made everything just that much more lively. 1561 to 1590. Here lies Leighton of the Corso, The mage no one asked for, but the mage we deserved and got. 1563 to 1590. Oh shit. They're all from this year. The people who buried them wanted to add some sentimentality, it would seem, but for whatever reason gave up on even filling the holes they dug by the end. From here you enter what I can only assume is the armory. The area is wide open and filled with resources. That'll be important. You'll also see your first friendly face, Sir Seymour, who looks like a certain manga protagonist. You could talk to him and find out what he's doing here. Conversely, you could murder him for his claymore, one of the strongest swords in the game. Though he is a tough enemy this early on, you'll also meet Lantern Face, or Iron Shakespeare. You will not be able to take him this early in the game. He will bake your bones and break your bread. A broken bone is a status effect that debuffs you for the rest of the game and can't be simply healed. Who is Iron Shakespeare, you might be wondering? As things started to succumb to chaos in the dungeons of fear and hunger, he was sent from the kingdom of Rondon for aid. In short time, he too lost his mind. Now he tries to guard the area to his last breath from anyone who sets foot to the fortress. Iron Shakespeare was a warrior from Rondon who arrived after the dungeon collapsed. Just like us, this is as far as he got before he lost his mind and became a guardian for the godforsaken place. It's not really worth fighting Iron Shakespeare here, however, though this is a useful room to come across for the loot if nothing else. And you absolutely must behave like a Skyrim kleptomaniac if you want to have any success in this game. So when I pause the game, you'll notice that I have 3 bars: hunger, health, and mind. Health, I think, is rather obvious. That's how much damage you can take before you fill the graves we saw earlier. Hunger and mind, meanwhile, are 2 bars that constantly drain as you traverse the dungeon. Letting either drop below a certain level can have disastrous consequences. For example, if your hunger drops below 50, you'll get this status effect, Hunger Stage 1. Your health is reduced to 90, and your attack is cut in half, with different stages having different effects, the final one of course being death. Other stages include losing the use of your legs, and blindness. Mind, meanwhile, can lead to all sorts of fun scenarios. My favourite being accidentally murdering your party. These effects can be mended by food and drugs respectively, and that's on top of everything else you have to manage. For example, torches are incredibly important to navigate the game. This is what the game looks like without a torch. Are we having fun yet? So making sure you have them is crucial to a run that isn't being played in fear and hunger mode. From there you'll find yourself in the prisons. Maybe Legarde will be here. God, this'll be easy. Spoilers, it isn't. Here you'll encounter the guards, a horrible enemy. The guards are the former employees of the Dungeon of Fear and Loathing, who have been corrupted by the esoteric darkness, and are now grotesque mutations. Hulking brutes, looking more like ogres than men. Talking to them gets nothing but animalistic grumbles. Even in the late game, these enemies aren't worth engaging with, because even when you destroy their head in one attack, they can still attack. And unless you've destroyed their cleaver arm, their most basic attack has a chance of chopping your limbs clean off in one strike. And their coin flip attack will likely annihilate you instantly and trigger a less than pleasant cutscene. It's here that you'll probably encounter the coin flip mechanic for the first time, assuming you didn't fight the dogs. So certain enemies have an attack that is an instant kill. You have to flip a coin and call heads or tails. If you get it right, their attack is negated and the fight goes on. This adds an extra wrinkle to the combat. Learning patterns of behaviour and using the move guard in combat will, in the guard's case, protect you from the attack. If you're in a desperate pinch, you can press the shift key when you activate your coin and flip 2 coins at once, increasing your chance of success. But this isn't always a guarantee. On the subject of resource management, we should actually talk a little bit about the lucky coins. You start the game with 2 lucky coins, and will likely find another 2 to 4 over the course of your playthrough. But here's the stinger. Combat is not the only place you do the coin flip. If you save in a bed, you'll have to flip a coin. If you get it right, you get to save. Hooray! If you get it wrong, bad things will happen to your body. Whenever you look through a chest or certain bookshelves for ultra valuable loot, you'll also have a coin flip. And if it fails, you can eat dust. If a hole suddenly opens up in the floor, you get a coin flip, which could be the difference between you continuing along your merry way, or receiving a trip to Dr. Crowface, who provides next-second surgery with every diagnosis. You know, Doc, I don't think a splinter warrants a head removal. Caw! This mechanic more than any other encapsulates what this game is. Unfair. You can do everything perfectly, literally everything, and still get fucked over by the chance flip of a coin. It's hard to describe how truly engaging this is when you're playing it, but honestly, it's so much fun. If you aren't playing as Kahara, here you'll find him in his cell, and you can recruit him into your party. Oh hey, you got me out of here. I'm Kahara of the South, a mercenary at your service. Why were you imprisoned here? I was caught by one of those malformed prison guards. Your conversation took an awkward turn for some reason. I'm feeling kind of weak after being left here for ages. Would you mind if we travel together for a while? Yes. Great. Well, Legarde isn't here, but at least we're making progress. The prisons themselves seem unusually large and cavernous. Giant statues resembling humanoid lizards stand tall watching the scenes play out as you run past the guards, who aren't the only danger. Also in the prisons are cave gnomes, pesky vermin that fly around listlessly, looking to mob unsuspecting visitors. The little halflings, given birth by the cave mother. Even their mother thinks little of them, and uses them to do her dirty work. We move past them if we can, and dispatch them if we must. At this point we come across a switch. Activate this, it will be important later. We come across an office as well, it's been ransacked. We exit the prisons and into the next area. Kahara is gone, and your pockets feel lighter. Dick. The corridor of flesh is a bloody location. Blood and body parts literally clog up the walkway, and it is immediately the strangest place you've seen thus far, and that's saying something. To the north you'll find a lizard man. His existence here isn't explained, and it seems at first as though it were an enemy just haphazardly placed there. We avoid it for now and head south when curiosity takes hold of us. We look at the wall, the piles of limbs and bone haphazardly crushed together. What if I touch it? Don't do it. Don't do it. Resist. For fuck's sake. Digging in, we'll find a talking head.
It's going to be a bumpy ride!
Who disturbs my sleep? Can't you see I have not retained my whole body yet, you insolent fool? I need more fresh blood for the ritual. This is Najra, and fighting him is pointless. He laughs at you, mocks you, taunts you, and as the turns progress, a great beast emerges from the darkness, crushing you instantly. GG. Of course you should disregard all that and continue down the corridor, where you'll see the metal cage that pulling the lever summoned. We'll ignore this for now and continue into the next area. We enter the torture chamber, a crucial room in any household. We're greeted with an ominous, deep chanting. We don't know what its origin is, and we're also sure that we don't want to know. We come to the end of the room and we'll get a prompt. Somebody is coming, and we can either stand here, menacingly, hide, or ambush it. I ambushed on my first time, no regrets, and you'll find yourself face to face with this gentleman. Torture. Guess what he does professionally? Killing him is easy. We teabag his ugly ass and move further into the dungeon. The hallway is filled with long and connected rooms, where instruments of torture are haphazardly laying about. At the end of the corridor we see a figure, covered in shadow, standing behind a set of bars and staring straight into our souls. Instinctively we run away and cower in a nearby room, where we meet a man just as terrified as us. This is Lord Buckman, the Crown Prince of Rondon. He doesn't tell us why he's here, and he refuses to join us, so we have no choice but to leave him behind. We venture further on, encountering the Dark Priests, lantern-wielding, chanting lunatics, who have nailed some poor sap to a cross. It's likely that this guy is also a Dark Priest. Enki did the exact same thing before he got the bright idea to come to this hell pit. Talking to them is a fruitless effort. They say vague and esoteric things that at this moment we can't piece together. They have relatively low HP and drop decent items, so it's worth killing them. However, they're deceptively tricky. They have a coin flip attack that's triggered by their chanting. It can be countered by a move called counter magic if you're playing as Enki, If you're playing as anybody else, the only option is off with their heads. Moving on, it's here we encounter the human Hydra, a malformed monstrosity of innumerable human bodies, fused together, all still alive, and pleading for a sacrifice. Sacrifice the child. Now here we have 4 options. A. Sacrifice a child if one is in our party. You'll receive nothing for this but a guilty conscience. B. Rip off one of the Hydra's heads, in which case it said several heads will impotently beg you to stop, while doing absolutely nothing in retaliation as you slowly kill it. C. Ignore it and leave. And of course, D. Sacrifice yourself to the god of shit and piss in the next room. In the hallowed halls of the feces god, there is no respite, there is only stench. FYI, if you climb into the toilet, you won't be able to escape. Apparently they don't have a functioning sewer system here. What have the Romans ever done for us indeed? Despite its size and creep factor, it's completely impotent, helpless as you remove its heads, one by one. I actually felt bad by the fight's end. Moving further on, we'll find ourselves in a library of sorts. Here, if you aren't playing as him, you'll encounter Enki. Huh. You are with a sane mind still. Please leave me. I'm not here to make acquaintances, and I fail to see what worth chatting with you would bring. Who are you? The Dark Priest seems clearly frustrated by you. My name is Enki, a priest of destruction. Did that feed your curiosity? Listen, I am through with this conversation. It brings no benefit to either of us. Leave. The Dark Priest doesn't seem to want your company at the moment. It might not be a good idea to bother him. You just know this guy is so fun at parties. Leaving this area for now, from here you can go through these doors and find yourself outside. Oh, and on a fun note, if you go down this well, you'll find yourself in the first area of the game, which suggests that the guards were just tossing bodies down the well to get rid of them. This is really cool and grim visual storytelling. We can see the complete callousness of the dungeon and the people in charge of it. So if you go south, you'll find yourself at the beginning of the game. All you'll really find here is 2 guards, maybe 3, a bit of loot, a library of books, always loot the books. Here you'll find the mock-up book, and eventually you'll stumble upon a door. You can hear something from the other side of it. Now you'll have a few options here, being that I'm a very masculine man, I open the door. And we find a little girl, likely the first and frankly only decent person we'll meet in these dungeons. Now, if you're a new player, you'll save the girl, which is a total rookie move. Let me explain why you should endeavour to be a horrible person and leave the girl here, for now. So when you recruit a party member, you get the advantage of having extra backup in a fight. However, you also become responsible for their resource bars, meaning you have to use your resources to take care of them. And unfortunately for the girl, she's also one of the weakest characters in the game, though she can learn magic and throw items, which is something. Oh, by the way, this girl is the aforementioned child sacrificed the Hydra once. Yeah, definitely killing that piece of shit now. You can leave this room and find yourself back at the beginning of the game. From here you have 2 options for moving forward. You can either go back to the Silver Cage, and down into the caves, and through the mines, or you can use the mock-up book, open the bookcase in the Torturer's library, leading into a sealed-off courtyard, which will lead you to the bowels. But we'll talk about both of these locations another time. So the dungeon we're presented with is pure chaos. Bodies are piled up to the ceiling, monsters roam the halls, madmen torture prisoners, and the Dark Priests, masters of destruction magic, engage in macabre rituals, to ends that currently we can't even begin to fathom. We can't find Legarde, and what we can find is hostile, horrifying, and desperate to kill us. So naturally we're going to have to go deeper. The dungeon holds many mysteries, and we're only really scratching the surface. Join me next time when we go to the mines.